Okay, algebra. So what I want you to do today is I want you to get a separate sheet of paper. So go ahead and pause this video until you've got a separate sheet of paper out, your pencil, your pen, whatever it is you're going to take notes with. Then what I want you to do is I want you to sketch a graph. Now yours is not going to look as nice as mine because mine's already drawn. But you're going to go make your x-axis and your y-axis. Please label them. Some of us are still struggling with our x's and y's, so we need them labeled. Okay. Then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go 1, 2 over and put a dot. 3 over and down 1 and put a dot. 4 over and put a dot. Then you're going to go sketch your U shape in. And we're going to talk about some important things on parabolas. So this is all academic vocabulary that you need to know. This dot right here at the bottom is called a vertex. Okay, so that vertex is the bottom of the U or the very top of the N. It is the only point that does not mirror. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line down the center. Okay. That line down the center like folds this in half. And when we fold something in half, it's called symmetry. So this is shortened to our line of symmetry. Sometimes the book gets really fancy and they call it an AOS, where the A stands for axis of symmetry. They mean the same thing. Those words are just synonyms. Okay. So those are the two things we're going to focus on today, is the line of symmetry and the vertex. Okay. And right now, we should be able to see those things in an equation. So this is the equation for my U shape. And this equation tells me my line of symmetry. Now, my line of symmetry isn't at 3 because that would mean it's all the way over here. But it has to do with the 3. So like if we look, it went 1, 2, 3 over. But it went 3 over to the left. So this has to do with that rule where I talk about like you never date the same person as your ex. Like your ex-boyfriend, your ex-girlfriend, we do not want to date the same people we already dated. So the same rules apply in math, okay? So life lessons from Miss Storker, you don't date the same person as your ex, you always date the opposite. And so this would mean that my x is going to equal -3. Not +3, -3. So what goes in parentheses is like it's in a mirror. It goes the opposite direction that you think it would. It's like the opposite of your x. Okay, so that's what goes in that pink position. Then we have our y. And we're going to use our same y. Okay, so when I talk about our y, I talk about how y moves up or down, and you don't jump up and down inside the house. So you're not going to jump up and down inside parentheses. That's just not going to happen. You can go outside and you can jump up and down all you want. Okay? And if I pointed down in front of a class, you would point down too if I asked you to mirror me. So this goes the same direction, and that gives me my vertex point of 1, 2, 3 negative, and 1 going down, that's a negative as well. So that's my vertex, is -3, -1. Okay, so that is what we're focusing on today, and we're going to do that through a website called Desmos. So, hang on. It's going to pop up with something that looks like this, and you're going to press join with Google, okay, or sign in with Google, and you're going to press go. When you do, it'll take you to a screen like here, okay? So on this screen, it says go ahead and match the vertex to the graph. For me, it's actually easier if I click on the graph and match the graph to a vertex number. So, right now I'm looking at this, and it says x minus 4 squared minus 2. Okay, and my x minus 4, that minus 4 needs to be the opposite. And I can see that on my graph as I go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and then down 2, it's the same. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and down 2, that gives me my point at the bottom of the U shape. So, I'm looking for the vertex of +4, -2. So it's not this one, it's not this one, it's not this one, it's not this one, it's not that one. Oh, +4, -2. When I do this, I have to drop this right on top of there. So I'm using a mouse or I'm using my finger. Like right now I'm using my finger because I'm on an iPad. And I drop it and it connects the two cards. That's it. That's all we're doing. Just connect those two cards. So now I'm looking at this one. And this one has a +0, +0. Okay. So it has a vertex of 0, 0, and I can see that in the middle of my screen. So I'm going to drop out of this, and I'm looking for a vertex of 0, 0. Right there. Okay, and so if you're like me, you're somebody who's going to get a little overwhelmed by this. So what I would do if I were you is I would put all of my graphs in one place, and all of my vertexes in one place. Kind of organize a little bit before I keep going. So there's a little bit of overlap. It's going to bother some of you. It's okay. But now I'm getting to a point where like, oh, this is a little nicer, it's a little more spread out, I can kind of tell what goes where. So, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go move back into my notes to talk about it a little bit. So, this graph is -2/17, x minus 3 squared minus 3. Okay, so in my notes, y equals -2/17 x minus 3 squared minus 3. Okay, right now we haven't talked about these things yet. So we don't know much about that. But we did talk about this number and we did talk about this number. So this number is supposed to be my opposite x. So my x is going to equal +3. Not -3, positive, because it needs to be the opposite. My y is going to be the same y. So my y is going to equal -3 because I'm looking for the same y. So if I had to graph this right now in a little sketch, I would know that this is located at 3, -3. That would be my vertex. Okay, I'm going to talk about one more piece right now. So I said we don't know much about this fraction right here, but something we do know about is we do know about this negative sign. And we know that that negative sign causes it to be a downwards U. It causes it to be sad. So I want to point out that this is my vertex. And my vertex is at 3, -3. Having to do with my opposite x and my same y. So if I go back to Desmos, I'm going to try to match it up again. So I'm looking for that vertex at 3, -3. And that's all I'm looking for right now is the vertex of 3, -3. That's right here. And I put those together. Okay. So that's all you're doing is you're matching all of these cards together. You need to do the whole thing. I did not. So you're going to do screen 1. Okay. Screen 2 asks, how does the vertex match to the equation? So I want you to give me words. I'm not going to tell you the words. I talked about it a lot in this video. How does the vertex match to the equation? Then it uses this word concavity. So it says place graphs under the concavity category. Concavity is this. Is it concave down and sad? Or is it concave up and happy? Okay, notice that the downwards kind of looks like the N of down, and the concave upwards kind of looks like the U of up. Okay, so if I go back and I look at my Desmos and I'm trying to match things, I'm like, oh, that's an up, that's a down. That's an up, that's a down. So now notice this has started to freak me out. Like it's a little unorganized, it's freaking me out a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm moving the cards around to make things helpful for me as I go. Oh, I see categories. So there's my words. The down goes with the ones facing down. The up goes with the ones facing up. That's a down. That's an up. That's an up. It's okay that I can't see them. As long as I place them in the right place, it's going to be okay. That's a down. That's an up. That's a down. Okay. So I should have 6 cards in each. Half of them are concave up, half of them are concave down. You can hide the cards, you can show the cards. If they match up correctly, I'll be able to see them. Then it says what causes concavity to be up or down. Okay, so we talked in my notes about like, is it up or down? Why was this one down? What happens if it's downwards? What happens if it's upwards? That sort of thing. So think about our lines too. Like if our lines are going upwards, we have either a positive or a negative slope. Which one is it? If my line is going downwards, we have either a positive or a negative slope. Which one is it? Okay, so that's today's lesson. Filling out the Desmos is me checking to see if you did it. So if you don't do the Desmos, I don't know if you did anything.